Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second ever episode of the CJW Podcast. Today is Friday, October 11th, 2019. I am Christina, and with me is my handsome husband, Jason. Say hi.
Hi.
He has a much deeper voice, I promise you. But anyway, we are here to review AEW's Dynamite last night, and I have to say, it was a pretty good show.
Yeah, it was. Oh my God. I wasn't sure that they were going to be able to, keep up what they did last week for 2 consecutive weeks. And if anything, I kind of think that I enjoyed this episode more than I did the first one.
So much fun. It went by super fast.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's just like the show starts and then 5 minutes later, it's totally done.
Yeah, it's just nonstop the whole time. Like, I didn't find myself getting bored at all. I didn't feel compelled to look at my phone.
Which is, oh my God, that's huge.
I gotta see what the cats of Instagram are doing. This is important stuff.
Yeah. So, first off, I want to apologize because we didn't realize that AEW Dark was going to be a show that they were going to be announcing. So we kind of threw in some spoilers at the end of last week's podcast. And we're sorry if we spoiled that for you. But actually getting to see those matches was pretty amazing.
Yeah, if you didn't know that it exists, it is Tuesday Night Dark, and it is the dark matches of the prior week's Dynamite. And it's
a YouTube exclusive show on their YouTube channel. So you don't need to fork over any big time cable cash if you wanted a taste of the AEW.
And it was a good solid, half-hour show?
Oh, it was a full hour.
Oh, it was a full hour? Very professionally done. It was great. And thank you, AEW, because I really wanted to see that Darby Allin match.
Yeah, Darby Allin versus Shima. If you haven't seen this match yet, I would say literally stop right now and go to their YouTube channel and watch that thing. It's the very first match of the show, which, is kind of unfortunate because they couldn't really build from there. But yeah, great stuff.
But we got to see a second women's match, so that was good.
This is true.
To see the ladies representing, because I was a little ticked off last week that there was only one match. So, I'll take 2. I'll take 2 matches. We'll work our way up, guys.
Yeah. So again, yesterday was I guess 2 days ago from the time you're listening to this, was the second episode of AEW Dynamite.
Dynamite.
This took place at Boston University. And again, it was a great show.
Sold out, yes?
Yeah. It was a sold out show. It wasn't as big as the previous arena that they were at. I think they had somewhere in the ballpark of around 10,000 people at this one.
Yeah, but 10,000 sold out versus a 30,000 arena with 10,000 people in it are 2 vastly different experiences.
Right. And
I would much rather them sell out the smaller venues.
Yeah. And especially if you change the channel over to the USA Network to watch NXT, and they've got 1,500 people at Full Sail?
Yeah.
It's not very many. So.
Yeah, but the crowd is super cool, and so it feels more. I think the crowd is a big determinant of how a show is going to go, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's just when the crowd gets into it, you get into it. It's kind of magic that happens. Well, let's start off the show. The first thing that I noted here is that the opening pyro, I felt like was an improvement this week. I don't know, it's just more noise, more mortars, I guess, going off. So it was like a doom.
How was it?
Like a doom.
Oh, okay.
So it was more impressive. Made the opening more fun. And they really just kicked it off into high gear. The first match
was Young Bucks, right?
Is the Young Bucks.
Oh my goodness.
Going up against
Private Party.
And
that was such a fun match.
First off, let me I should set the tone here. This was the very first match in the tag team tournament, which will ultimately decide who will be the first tag team to hold the tag team titles for AEW.
So for our brackets, I picked Young Bucks. You picked Private Party.
Yep.
This one was really difficult because I wanted both of them equally to win. I am so happy that Private Party won. I'm kind of bummed that Young Bucks aren't moving forward, but their time will come. But that was such a fun match.
Yeah, I mean, first off, they had SCU and Angelico and Evans, who I'm told now are going by the name of the Hybrid 2.
I don't get it.
Yeah, well, yeah.
But it is easier to say than Angelico and Jack Evans all the time. I'd much rather say Hybrid 2. But I don't get it.
SCU and Angelico and Evans were both watching the match from ringside, which I thought was an awesome touch.
Yeah.
And they seemed to be just chilling out and enjoying themselves throughout, I think, the entire course of the show.
Yeah.
So they were scouting, and that was good. I'm kind of jealous because they had front row seats. I would have loved to have been there. Private Party, they've got this kind of cool entrance where they've got a security guard, and he's got velvet ropes at the top of the ramp. So they approach the security guard who, pulls the rope and lets them on through because it's a private party. You had to ensure their credentials were up to snuff. But they just let those long hair Young Bucks guys right on in, right?
But it took them so long to get into this. I mean, it was fun. It was fun, but it took them forever to get actually into the ring and start that match. And it took them 12 times longer to get out of that match. But
you haven't watched enough Undertaker matches then. So Private Party, so over with this crowd.
Oh, yeah.
And they were getting chants. In the beginning, the Bucks weren't even getting. So these guys have made a name for themselves in a very, very short period of time.
And they're so young.
They're little babies.
Little babies. But man, they're so much fun to watch.
My favorite part of the match happened early on. Mark Quinn got the hot tag in. So first, he immediately springboard cross bodies from he makes the tag and he just springboards and goes into a crossbody onto Nick. Nick then rolls out of the ring. So he runs into the ropes and then he pulls a suicide dive to Matt outside the ring. Then he immediately runs back in, re-enters the ring, and he leaps the ropes on the opposite side to hit Nick with a high-flying crossbody. Then he re-enters the ring, he runs to the other side of the ropes, and he does a somersault plancha onto Matt. Then he re-enters the ring again, and he moonsaults over the ropes into Nick. Then he throws Matt into the ring, and because none of that was enough, he immediately jumps up to the top ropes and does a 450 splash.
And the crowd lost it. Completely lost it.
It was sick.
It was magical.
I can't even imagine the amount of cardio you need to do to be able to pull something like that off. But it was just that's flippy stuff for you, man. And it was all of it. My next favorite bit. Cassidy's on the apron. He's just outside the ropes. All right. So Matt hits a running sunset flip, but instead of actually throwing Cassidy off onto the ground outside the ring, he holds on to him and just turns it into a running power bomb. And when I say running, I mean he just ran him up onto the ramp and slammed him down onto the metal ramp.
Ooh, I felt it in my bones.
And so did he, because he was out on the ground for a good portion of the match, leaving Isaiah Cassidy on his own.
I also just want to interject here. So for some of the new followers to AEW, if you don't know who's who yet, Mark Quinn is the one with the little two blonde mohawks, and Isaiah Cassidy is the one with the shaved head. And also Mark Quinn wears the absolutely fabulous DuckTales. Yeah,
he's got the tails on the back of his outfit. Usually you will see him wrestling without taking his sunglasses off. The man has got style, the man has got attitude, and it's always a pleasure to watch a Private Party match.
Yeah, both those guys are just so good. Usually someone will do the high flying, someone else will take the bumps, but no, both these guys, they got the goods.
Yeah, they started off the show hot, and it was the best match of the entire show, in my opinion.
Agreed.
The crowd was chanting tag team wrestling. For a tag team wrestler, I can't imagine that there's a better feeling to get. You know that you are doing it and doing it right when the crowd's chanting that. The Bucks were fighting heel, And that's when they're at their best, when they've got that cockiness going and they're just willing to do absolutely whatever it takes. They give into their frustrations and you can see it in their face. Absolutely love it. I've added so much to this match.
But in the end, Private Party prevails. This was a really hard one for me to pick.
Oh, I have in my notes, all caps, watch this match. If you haven't seen this episode, guys, you gotta check this one out. So Private Party, they pick up the win, and that gives me the leg up on our brackets.
Yeah.
I was looking through, I was comparing the brackets, and you can we've got those posted on our Instagram account. We'll leave a link in the description. I think that's how they say it.
That's how the kids say it.
So then something happens. All right, they cut to commercial, and during this commercial, they do the split screen thing where they're running the commercials on 2/3 of the screen, and then they've got the little window showing you what's going on in the arena. And what was going on in the arena during the course of this entire commercial break was just Private Party celebrating. Now, that would be totally cool, but there was a match later on, the match that I was most excited to see throughout the entire show when they announced it, which was Darby Allin versus Jimmy Havoc. Their commercial break, no split screen.
Yeah, and you were waiting for that match all week. I think they just so stoked for that match.
Yeah, they just announced it actually earlier this week, and from the second they announced it, and also the stakes of it being that the winner of this match would go on to face Chris Jericho next week for the world title. Even before Cody gets his opportunity, I was super stoked, and we missed half the match, and that was a bummer.
That was a bummer because I really felt like there was some really good stuff that we did not see. Because although that match was good, I mean it was solid, but
we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves.
Okay.
So we'll get to that in just a bit. The next thing that happened was that Chris Jericho and his cronies
I
hit the ring.
forgot about that. You're right.
This shows you why Chris Jericho is literally the greatest of all time.
The GOAT, if you will.
So he's got in the ring with him Jake Hagar, Santana and Ortiz. He's got Sammy Guevara, and he just basically is introducing this brand new pro wrestling faction, and he just runs down everybody. Just he talks about each guy, introduces them to the crowd and to the viewers, and talks up why they're so awesome. But as he's cutting this promo, he's funny, he's on top of his game, but he's also straight heel. So when the crowd is cheering, "Thank you, Jericho," he cuts them off right quick. He knows how to draw some heat out of these guys out of this crowd who are obviously huge fans. And how can you not be? He's Chris freaking Jericho. When he introduces Jake Hagar, who used to fight in WWE, under the name Jack Swagger, his old gimmick with the crowd would chant "We the People," he shut that down like right away.
Brilliantly.
Yeah, he just tells the crowd, this is awesome. He tells the crowd that "We the People" is dead and buried. It's a stupid idea from bad creative, and that's gone.
And then the crowd erupted. Like, they were so happy to hear that. Meanwhile, Jake Hagar didn't move. Like, he was stone-faced the entire promo. He was very intimidating.
Stone-faced. The only time you saw any change to him whatsoever was when they started chanting "We the People," and then his eyes kind of bugged out, and then Jericho shut it down, and it was great. Also notable about this is when Jericho was introducing him and his accolades, Jake Hagar held world title gold in WWE, but also he's coming over from Bellator, where his MMA record is 2-0, and Chris Jericho takes a shot at WWE in their SmackDown program last week, where they're just bringing in these MMA guys and these boxers. And Chris Jericho just wanted to remind everybody that Jack Swagger is undefeated in his MMA career at 2-0. And since he's undefeated, he's a bigger and badder man than any boxer, any fighter that they could throw at him. And it's It's Chris Jericho. You give him a mic and he's going to go out of his way to piss people off. And that was great.
And you get gold.
In the end, he closes it out by bashing the Rhodes family, which of course is going to draw some heat. And you know what? I mean, it was a solid 7-minute promo, but it was just like he got into it. He cut to the meat and then he was done. He did everything that he needed to do. He built up his next 2 matches, which have already been announced. And then he was done. There wasn't any 20-minute promo thing of other people coming in or anything. It was just one simple, relatively short segment. Commercial break, and then we're off to the next match. And the next match, which we were talking about earlier, was Darby Allin versus Jimmy Havoc. One of the things that I noticed, after we watched the show, I generally tend to watch it again and really kind of like pay attention to really take the notes. And so I've got my headphones on, and Darby Allin's got some awesome theme music.
Yeah, he does.
It's super gothy. And it's got like a Peter Murphy-esque kind of vibe to it. It's something I think I could actually like throw onto an MP3 player. Do kids still have those MP3 players?
No. You put it on your Zune.
On my Zune.
But that was a good match.
You know, I'm going to be honest. I had built this up in my head for so long, and I was kind of disappointed by it.
Yeah.
I was expecting way more. Darby Allin picks up the win, and he did end up taking a whole bunch of damage, but Jimmy Havoc was the guy who won the Cracker Barrel Challenge. I was expecting something a bit closer. Really, all it ended up coming down to was Darby Allin taking an immense amount of damage, and then in the end kind of pulling it around, ending it with a coffin drop. And
a just barely made it coffin drop. He was a little off on that one.
Yeah, the first bunch of times for AEW that he pulled off the coffin drop, easily dodged by whoever it was that he was fighting. When he fought Shima on AEW Dark, that was the first time I'd even seen him hit it. But this week he's won with it twice as far as their broadcast history goes. So good on him.
Did you want to see blood in this match? Like, what were you expecting? Props?
I think what I was expecting was, like, over the summer I watched a whole bunch of New Japan Pro Wrestling, the G1 Climax tournament. And in each of these matches, and most of these matches, like, these guys were giving it their all. And at the end, like, even after winning, the victor would be too exhausted to even move. And I think I was looking for something that level, where like they got the guy standing by with the ice packs, you know, and it takes him a little bit of time to get off. Here's the thing. I really, really dig Jimmy Havoc. I've only seen the matches that he's fought for AEW, but just something about him has captured my imagination, and it could just be that I grew up goth. I don't know what it is, but he's such he's such a cool, imposing, hardcore presence that I kind of want to see this guy eat a whole lot of damage before he finally gives in. And if Darby Allin is going to take him out, I think that Darby Allin should give him, you know, basically dish out as much damage as he's taking. Otherwise, it's just not working so well for me.
And that boy can take some damage, man. Darby Allin, he's a talented one.
Yeah,
he can definitely take, I mean, his bumps, and they look so good, and he sells so well. And
he's like a human episode of Jackass. Like you take Jackass and you throw it into the pro wrestling world, and that's kind of him, where it's just like, I am going to go downhill at 60 miles per hour in a shopping cart, and when I land, hopefully I don't break any bones.
Didn't Bam Margera like wrestle for a while, or am I mistaken? I thought I remember something.
You could
that.
be right. If it happened, it was while I was kind of away from my fandom. That's I'm looking at you, Ruthless Aggression era.
Yeah.
Okay, but as we were saying before, there's a commercial break in the midst of this match, and one of the things that happens with AEW that I'm noticing that's different from WWE is that when WWE cuts to commercial, their matches basically turn to crap. The action stops. The heel generally has the upper hand going into the commercial, and then it's basically just rest hold headlock. for the better part of the 3-minute commercial break. That's not how they do it in AEW. AEW, it cuts to commercial, and if you've got a split screen going, they are continuing, like, some of the most important stuff that's happening is happening in this match. And we would see this show itself perfectly. Perfect example with the women's match, which we'll get to in a bit.
I wish that they would do the split screen for the entire show, because it seemed like there were so many commercials and we missed a lot. I felt like, I don't understand why they can't do the split screen during every commercial.
At least plan it out a little better.
Yeah.
Because like the private party one, no big deal. Because it was just celebrating. They were going through the crowd and everything. It's great, and we're happy for them and all that kind of stuff. But I would really like to have seen the middle of this particular match. Since we were talking about it just a second ago, let's just dive right on in to the women's tag team match. This match was the team of Amy Sakura and Bea Priestley going up against the AEW Women's Champion Riho and Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. Now, Amy Sakura, we have seen her once before it was Double or Nothing, right?
I think so, yeah.
She was dressed up then as now in an outfit that brought Freddie Mercury to mind. And
well, she has the mic, she does the stand, and like I noticed she was doing a couple like We Will Rock You stomps during it.
Yeah, and she did that before in the previous match too, which was really, really cute. A nice touch. Here's the thing about Amy Sakura is she's adorable. She is just absolutely adorable, and she really does everything she can to get the crowd enthused in her matches, which is super cool. Like she'll do like repetitive kind of chants to get the crowd going, and it's super weird to see because she's fighting heel in this, teaming up with Bea Priestley, and Bea Priestley's kind of the heel's heel when it comes to AEW's women's division.
Yeah, she's a badass.
It was but a really cute moment when they're coming down to the ring. Bea Priestley is posing up on the like second rope of one of the corners, and Amy Sakura puts the mic up to her face, and she just like slams it away. And Sakura just kind of shrugs it off because she's adorable. Apparently, and they brought this up a couple of times in commentary, that Sakura she actually trained Riho. So they obviously they fight very, very well together.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, but yeah, let's see. I've got my notes here. Bea and Amy, unlikeliest of tag teams. You've got Dark and Brooding match with Light and Adorable. This was the second best match of the night. Like, the women are killing it in AEW. This was just an absolutely fun match. Yeah.
I wasn't expecting all that much from this match, to be honest with you.
Agreed.
And again, the women bring it.
Yeah, I'm not super huge on these kind of mixed feud tag matches where the playa special from SmackDown, where it's like, these guys are having a feud and these guys are having a feud, so we'll just take the heels from the two feuds and we'll have them team up against the two faces, and that's our main event. We're getting a lot of that. And because of that, this was the match that I was least looking forward to, and it ended up being the second best match of the night, even though the crowd didn't seem to be as into this as they were.
I mean, they got into it a little bit at the end. The crowd was a bit dead in the beginning.
I think in the beginning they were most into it. Then it cut to commercial. When they came back from commercial, they pretty much plateaued.
I have to say though, you know, with a lot of the men wrestlers, they've been around. People know them. With the women, I think they're a little bit lesser known. So I don't quite mind having the mixed feuds right now, because it does set up, it furthers along the story of Bea Priestley and Britt Baker, DMD. Also, I think it's a good angle with having, you know, Riho as the champion, you know, going against, you know, her teacher. So I think it's setting up some stuff. So I'll be a little bit more lenient with a 6-woman tag or something like that, if they're going to move along the storylines, because there really isn't any right now. Well, I take that back. There's a few, but they need to develop them a little bit more. And if we only get one, maybe 2 matches a show, we got to do something to move it along.
Yeah, the women are getting short shrift. They're only getting a single match per show so far. And they're not getting any promo time as of yet. But you are correct in that this does, in terms of storytelling, they are setting stuff up into the future. Most specifically, B had zero interest, or next to zero interest, in actually finishing this match. She was more concerned with beating the living heck out of Britt Baker.
And gave her a really nice shiner, too. So.
Yeah, which, I mean, you kind of almost feel bad for Britt, because so far she sustained a concussion at the hands, or I guess I should say feet, of B. Priestley. And now she's got a nice shiner to show for it. I hope that they can really develop this more, because, I mean, if Britt's going to be putting her body and her livelihood on the line, at least we should get some serious storytelling value out of it. Throughout the break, the commercial break, they did the split screen thing again, and there was so much action. I honestly think the best parts of this match were on the little tiny screen that was taking up very little real estate on my screen.
Mind you, we have a 150-inch screen.
No, don't exaggerate. It's only 137.
So yeah, it was...
It dwarfs our 1-bedroom apartment living room. All right, so the faces ended up winning, and B ended up approaching Britt after the match, and for a second I wasn't sure what was going on. Was she gonna like shake her hand or something? Of course she wasn't. She puts an L on her forehead with she put her, I don't want to quote Smash Mouth lyrics, but she did the thing with the thumb and the index finger in L and put it to her head, and then they were brawling. Aubrey Edwards was doing what she could to keep them apart. They were able to be split up, but this is something that is far from over. I'm half expecting, if not fully expecting, to see this get blown off on a big match at Full Gear. At least that's the hope.
That's what it seems that they're working towards, because they better get a singles match, and it better mean something.
I'd really love to see them cut some promos, though.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure I even know what B. Priestley's voice sounds like.
Is she Australian?
Point. Yes. Well, I believe she's from England, and then she moved to Australia. So she's from all around there. Multiple different accents.
But when you say promos, I mean, there hasn't really been a lot of promos, period. There's been, video vignettes and stuff. And
yeah, Jericho got a good one this time out. But also there have been like the top of the ramp stage area promos. Lure SCU had their bit.
Oh, yeah.
They tend to be relatively short in general. Not a single one for the women folk as yet, but I would like to see that change, because I mean, there's you can show off a whole lot of personality in the ring through physicality. I would also like to see them kind of supplement it with words, and it doesn't necessarily have to be during the show itself, but with the Road 2 series or being the Elite, it's time to get some female voices in there.
Yeah.
All right, so there then ended up being a ringside promo. Speaking of which, with the Best Friends. And they were asked about their upcoming match next week. They're going to be going up against SCU. And then they revealed, sitting behind them, of course he was sitting, Orange Cassidy, who got a huge pop.
People love him. I don't get it.
He's a cool character. I love watching him just being bored. It's good stuff, though.
I feel like he's gonna do one thing and I'm just gonna fall madly in love with him, but right now I'm just kind of like, meh, whatever.
So for the following match, Pac was introduced to commentary. This was for Shawn Spears versus Jon Moxley. Now, this was Mox's first official AEW match. The only prior match he had fought for AEW was the unsanctioned match against Joey Janela, which I believe was at Fyter Fest? I think it was Fyter Fest.
I think it was Fyter Fest.
And that was an unsanctioned match. There's going to be too much brutality there for them to make it an official gig, which if you look at the Escalera de la Muerte, obviously they don't care about sanctioning brutality.
God, that was a good match.
But this was not only Mox's first actual sanctioned match for AEW. It was his first match since returning from injury, as well as his first match for the TNT show. So this was a big deal. And I was really expecting the commentators to really pound the importance of this match in. And instead, they had Pac on commentary, and the commentators spent half the match really interacting with Pac and going over like his previous feuds with Omega and how he wants to get the belt and stuff. And I feel like they completely overlooked the match that was happening, which was the other match from this week that I was really super excited about seeing. And it really took away from my enjoyment overall of it. There was really good stuff going. Like Mox, I love Moxley's character, his new character. Like if you've been watching New Japan Pro Wrestling and their G1 Climax, you got tons of Mox over a short period of time, and he now is just this driven and focused and just badass character who just loves fighting. And you can just tell he is so overjoyed every time he steps into the ring and that he's having the time of his life. He backs that up. He pairs that up with his new in-ring style, and it all meshes together so well. And they kind of just threw him to the wolves in this as far as commentary goes. I was really disappointed with that. That was probably my biggest gripe for the entire show, but it was great. So Moxley hits the ring. Sean Spears was already in the ring, and he like gets straight up into his face, and they're like button foreheads, and the bell rings. Tully Blanchard, who is the executive advisor for Sean Spears, i.e. he's the guy who cheats to help Sean Spears win, was still in the ring. The bell rings and Mox immediately turns around where Tully Blanchard is right behind him, and he nails him with a headbutt without breaking any level of stride, and then just gets straight back into Sean Spears' face. Moments like that are great. As well as a little bit later, Mox, half this match took place outside the ring, and he took down Sean Spears, and he noticed Blanchard behind him, and he just turns around and then just starts stalking him, chasing him around the ring, and just the look in his eye.
I don't want that guy chasing me because he was walking with a mission.
Jon Moxley is such an amazing performer, and we didn't get to see anywhere near as much as of that as I would have liked while he was in WWE. Now that he has free reign, I'm just loving the gloves being taken, or really the straitjacket being taken off of him. I guess, yeah, that's
when he was in WWE, I know you were a huge fan, and like I liked his personality. I thought he was great on the mic, but like his in-ring skills were kind of lackluster to me. And now I see it. Now I see what the big deal is.
Yeah, the things that he was known for in the ring were like his rebound lariat, where he gets tossed into the ropes, but instead of bouncing off of it, he puts his body in between, like the upper half of his body between the second and top rope, and his knee up to like bounce off the top rope so that he can then rebound off of it, which I'm not sure gives him any extra momentum aside, than he would have gotten had he just bounced off the ropes. And then he swings back into the dude and hits him with a clothesline.
But he was starting to do it like at least 2 or 3 times a match.
I hated it,
and it was so annoying.
It so much. And then when he went away with injury, and then when he came back and he was kind of like trying to take on this more kind of meaner sort of persona. He'd grown the beard, he'd had cut his hair short and all that kind of stuff. He just come back with a mission. So I was expecting like his entire in-ring style to change, and nope, it was right back there. But he's not pulled that thing off since he's left WWE. And then that's when you kind of start to realize, oh, that stuff was corporately mandated. So all in all, this was a really good match. I mean, if we, commentary aside, and I've ragged on that enough. Mox ends up getting the win. He pulls off the Paradigm Shift, which is the renamed version of the Dirty Deeds, which I always thought was a ridiculous name. So he's heading up the ramp, and Kenny Omega comes out. Kenny Omega is not empty-handed. He's wanting revenge for the previous week when Mox came and interrupted their tag team match.
I think he's still picking glass out of his hair.
He could well be. So he's not empty-handed. He has two items. One is a barbed wire wrapped bat, and the other is a mop, also wrapped in barbed wire, because you see Kenny Omega is the cleaner.
I thought that was it a mop or a broom?
I think it was a mop.
That's even...
I think it was, like one of those swishy moppy things.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's even funnier.
So he throws the bat to Mox, and it looks like they're going to throw down. But Pac left the commentary table, and he ran up behind Kenny Omega with a chair. And oh my God, this was vicious. He takes the head edge of the chair, and Kenny Omega has no idea that this is even happening behind him. And he just rams the edge of this chair into the back of Kenny Omega's head as he's running it straight for him. And then he just heads out and he disappears. Kenny is now laid out on the ground, and I can't even imagine how bad that had to have hurt. And I hope he's okay. I can imagine that there's probably some damage done on that.
He's probably got a headache today.
And then Mox, and this is a brilliant character moment. Mox turns around, he looks down at Kenny Omega's body, and he tosses the bat and he walks away, because you know what? He's not going to beat a downed opponent. He's there for the fight. And if the guy is not able to fight, then he has no interest. So he ends up going back
honorable?
Yeah, absolutely I would. And I just love Mox's character. I mean, we've only gotten a couple of interviews with him since he's been signed to AEW, but all of them have just been, hey, I'm a badass, and I'm going to take you down because I'm a badass. He does it a whole lot better than that. But yeah, that was good stuff. So this brings us to the main event of the match. The main event was a tag team match between Dustin Rhodes and Hangman Page. Going up against Sammy Guevara and Chris Jericho, and they were flanked by Jake Hager. Now there's no panda headdress today for Sammy Guevara.
Do you think that Sammy Guevara has special hidden powers in his tongue? Because that thing keeps flipping out all the time, and I feel like my grandma when I say I want to yank it. Like, he's always making these faces with his tongue.
He wasn't the only one.
Yeah, was it Ortiz?
I want to say it was Ortiz. I have to admit I don't know one from the other at this point.
I mean, do they think it makes him look tough? Because I just find it icky and gross. I
think it made him, no, it kind of made him look like a loose cannon. Like, it's like the crazy eyes, except instead of the eyes, it's his tongue. But anytime he wanted to add an exclamation point earlier in Jericho's promo, like that thing was finding its way all around. He was biting down on it. Yay for tongues.
It was just annoying and gross, and I got really distracted by it.
So in this match, Dustin got a whole lot of ring time, and it's amazing. Watching him with Goldust in mind, because in WWE as Goldust, he was pretty much a straight mid-carder throughout his decades with the company, and you never really saw him as being a dominant sort of a wrestler. But now he's 50 years old, and
he's killing it.
He's running around like he's in his 30s, and he's absolutely amazing. He's such a skilled wrestler. I am literally ashamed for having overlooked him for so much of his career. But you know what? His bookers should be way more ashamed, because this is a dude that can go in that ring. It's freaking impressive. I'm really glad that AEW is a thing that he can now do, so that he can actually show people, in the twilight of his career, look, dudes, I am one of the best that they've ever had. They just weren't really giving me the opportunity to shine.
Yeah, shame on WWE. And I think at this point in his career, he just wants to have fun. He doesn't need to go for the belt. He doesn't need to, prove anything to anybody. He's just out there doing what he's doing, and he looks great.
I'll tell you what, though. I mean, if they end up getting a mid-card title, I would not be sad in any way, shape, or form if Dustin Rhodes got that. I mean, at some point.
Absolutely. I agree.
And maybe even I would love to see him and Chris Jericho fight for the world title. Not saying that Dustin should win it, but maybe give him a little run, before he heads out.
He's earned it.
He's absolutely earned it. He has done so much for this industry in his years. Ultimately, Hager ends up running in for interference, and he gives the Inner Circle the win. Probably should have mentioned this earlier.
Yeah, we kind of missed that part.
Chris Jericho and his boys are they are now a brand new faction, and their faction has a name, and the name of that faction is the Inner Circle. I kind of dig it. I've been reading some stuff online, and it seems like a lot of people are having issue with it. Like they think it sounds silly. I like it. I mean, it's I don't know.
I don't know. It reminds me of I think there was a jam band or something back from the 90s. I think they did the Bad Boys, the Cops theme song or something, and that my dad had the cassette.
What you gonna do?
Yeah.
What you gonna do when the Inner Circle comes for you?
But that's what came to my mind as soon as they said their name, and I just kind of laughed a little bit. But I mean, they'll make it work.
So, Paige...
Oh, wait, I need to also interrupt. We didn't mention when Jericho was doing his promo that the Inner Circle has made the list.
Yes, all of them. They've made his list. Not the list, but Jericho was saying they've made my list. So, whatever kind of copyrights that WWE may have, they've been properly skirted around. And it's now a good thing to be on Jericho's list. Okay, so Inner Circle wins after Hager runs in for the interference, and Paige was messed up and on the outside, so it was a 3-on-1 against Dustin. Dustin's getting the crap kicked out of him, and the lights go out, and it's like, great, what, Dark Order? I mean,
You always say that.
But luckily, it was only out for a few seconds, and the lights come back on, and it wasn't the Dark Order. Cody appeared in the ring, so they're fighting back and forth.
Cody takes off his cufflinks.
Yeah,
he's a man with style.
Not just his cufflinks; he takes off his watch, and then he flings it across the ring, which is like you figure you want to take your watch off so that you can put it somewhere safe so it doesn't get broke. I'm sure that whatever his watch costs is probably more money than I make in a year.
I'm hoping that's like a cheapy throwaway watch.
So things are going back and forth, and the Santana and Ortiz come out. Then MJF comes out, and this is where stuff starts to get interesting. So MJF runs to the ring. He's got a chair in hand, and he gets into the ring, and all the heels, they're holding Cody down, and MJF just stops, and they basically are offering Cody to MJF, like, turn heel and join us, and he doesn't. Big fake out. I was waiting for him to turn. He doesn't turn. He knocks the heels back with the chair, and then he starts posing for the crowd. The crowd's loving it. And then while he's being all cocky and stuff and trying to take up all the cheers that he can, of course, he gets attacked from behind, and the faces are now in peril again.
I love the fact that we're expecting MJF to turn at any minute, and he hasn't yet. So it's gonna make the payoff so good.
They're gonna drag this out for months.
Yeah.
When it finally happens, it'll probably be at the point where we're just not expecting it. but it's good stuff. So the Young Bucks end up popping into the ring in order to even things out. And they're doing a pretty good job. Jericho ends up kind of like fading back towards the ramp, holding off his title, being like, I'll get you for this, my pretties. And that's when Darby Allin hits the ramp. He's got his skateboard. He's riding down. He, just before he gets to Jericho, he pops an alley and turns that into a knee to Jericho's face. Super great stuff.
That was awesome.
Yeah, he pops up into the ring, and then there's like the face heel stare down, and Jericho's all like, I'm gonna get you, Cody, at Full Gear. I'm gonna get you, Darby, next week. And it was a great end to the match. I can't wait to see what happens next week. Super, super excited. It's been so long since I've felt this way about wrestling, where at the end of the show, there's not just like, disappointment or whatever, or maybe there's like one thing that I'm kind of curious as to what's going to happen for. Now I'm just like, what are they going to do next week? How are they going to top this? I mean, I don't imagine for a second that Darby Allin is going to beat Chris Jericho next week, but man, I want to see that.
It's going to be fun to watch.
Here's the matches that we have announced for next week so far. As mentioned before, Chris Jericho is defending his title against Darby Allin, but we also have the final two matches from the first round of the tag team tournament. We're going to have the Best Friends versus SCU.
And who did you pick for your bracket on that one?
Let's see, just to make it official. I think we picked opposite teams on both of these matches. First off, let me say SCU will be represented in the tournament by Christopher Daniels and Frankie Kazarian.
Wait, no Scorpio Sky?
No, they announced it last week.
Oh.
That was the point of their promo when they were on the stage. I picked the Best Friends to beat SCU. You picked SCU to beat the Best Friends. I
think I picked that when I thought Scorpio Sky was going to be a part of it.
Yeah, the CJW podcast loves Scorpio Sky. We love SCU as a whole, but Scorpio Sky was on a semi-recent episode of Being the Elite, and he just started just singing the title song to That Thing You Do, the Tom Hanks movie. And
I instantly melted and fell in love with him.
Yeah, the CJW podcast officially loves That Thing You Do, and also Scorpio Sky. So we also have the Lucha Brothers taking on Jurassic Express, and Jurassic Express will be represented by Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy.
And you picked?
I picked Jurassic Express. I am going to admit this, and this is going to ultimately prove to be like it's going to blow up in my face. It's going to be embarrassing. I've picked Jurassic Express to win the whole damn thing.
You never know.
You picked the Lucha Brothers, and the Lucha Brothers, I think, are the favorite. And if they weren't the favorite earlier this week, with the Young Bucks out of this, I think that the smart money is on the Lucha Brothers to win this whole thing. And in fact, that is who you picked to win the whole kit and caboodle. So we've got...
I love it when we have different winners.
Yeah, it does. It makes everything more exciting. The Private Party Young Bucks match, it was just great to, have a pony to root for.
I couldn't root, in my mind, I wanted to root for the Young Bucks, but I couldn't root against Private Party. That was a rough match.
But it was so suspenseful.
Good.
It was so much fun. That's quality wrestling. Quality professional wrestling, and it's great. We get to do this every week.
This is wrestling. Clap, 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 clap.
Also, I'm guessing you can expect to see next Tuesday on AEW Dark. Spoiler free this time. I didn't even write down who won, so it's going to be extra exciting when we watch it on Tuesday. But we're going to have a triple threat match against Kip Sabian, Peter Avalon, and Sonny Kiss. I love me some Sonny Kiss. I love me some Kip Sabian. But Sonny Kiss is awesome. We're also going to have an 8-man tag team match. The Dark Order will be teaming up with the Hybrid 2. And again, that's Angelico and Jack Evans They're going to be teaming up against SCU and Shima. Which does that make? Yeah, okay. So it'll be all 3 members of SCU. So you'll get your Scorpio Sky fix next week. And finally, there's going to be an unsanctioned match. So this will be the second unsanctioned match. I guess every Joey Janela match is going to be unsanctioned. He's going up against Kenny Omega. That's going to be fun.
The dark matches?
Yes.
Wait a minute. So there's not a women's match? Women's dark match?
There is not.
That is some bullshit.
I can't disagree with you there.
That is some bull pucky. There needs... we get one match for live TV and they can't even give us a dark match? I don't like it.
Well, I'm sure you could show your displeasure by tuning into SmackDown and or Raw, where they probably don't even have a single women's match.
If I had a Twitter, I would Twitter AEW right now.
I think you do have a Twitter.
Maybe. But I would twit over to them.
Despite that, I am not going to kick the selection of matches out of the bed.
No, those are great matches, and I'm looking forward to it. But I gotta represent my women here.
No, and you absolutely do and should. They had on Twitter. They posted a link AEW did for a survey, and it's kind of like the WWE Fan Council surveys, except kind of a whole lot longer. So it's like a fan council survey where they're just trying to figure out what it is that you're watching, like how enthused you are about their product and competing products and things like that. They're asking open-ended questions about what you enjoyed about the show, what you disliked. And I definitely made sure to tell them, hey, look,
where was this?
The women need more time. I think it was on AEW Wrestling's Twitter account. I will hook you up with a link as soon as we get off the air.
Yeah, hook up that link and tell those guys we want more women's matches.
So finally, we've got the ratings. Now, there was a steep drop in the ratings this week versus last week, which I think was to be expected. Last week, they did 1.4 million viewers, and this week they were down to 1,018,000 viewers. So that's almost like a 30%, 35% drop, somewhere in that ballpark.
Yikes.
Going up against NXT were also down. So it's not like the viewers, decided, hey, NXT is probably the way to go. NXT also dropped down like a good 10% down to 790,000 viewers. It was their lowest rated show to date. And I think that's kind of all we got for this, our second episode of the CJW podcast. So catch up on all the wrestling that's happening next week, and we will catch you next Friday.
Adios. Adios. Adios.